Hello, welcome to OJ Studios. Please enjoy this week's chapter of The Tutor by Lacey Rice.
I awoke in a familiar, but also different place. I wanted to move my hands, but I couldn't, they wouldn't respond to my commands. I tried to open my eyes, but I couldn't. I felt disconnected from my body somehow, like I was a ghost within myself. Then there was a feeling of an emerging consciousness within me. Lily? I asked in a small weak voice. I no longer had the ability to use my mouth and use my own voice. Instead my voice came from thought speak, just like how Lily had to speak. My eyes opened without me commanding them to. My head turned to look around without me telling it to. It was a horrifying feeling to experience. Matt? Lily asked in thought speech. Are you here? I am. I said relieved. Lily looked down at my hands and she flexed each finger. I could feel her examine my body. I was patient, it wasn't, but a few days ago I was doing this in Andrew's body. So, this is how it feels to be in control. Lily said out loud. Professor Quinn smiled a little bit at my body and nodded her head. Yup, looking at the readings you are now in full control of Matt. Cool. Lily said as she got up from the chair. Lily directed my eyes to look at her body which was being loaded up by lab assistants. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I said in thought speak. Because this is freaking me out. Lily giggled in thought speak. Don't worry, Matt. You'll get used to it. It's a bit strange at first, but you'll figure it out. As Lily's body was being prepared by the lab assistants, Professor Quinn explained the protocols for the dining out experiment. Lily would have full control of my body, and I would be an observer in my own mind. She had to follow the same rules that I had to, she had to be referred to as me. For me, I could still communicate through thought speak, but I had no physical control. It was an unusual and somewhat disconcerting experience. Alright, Matt, Professor Quinn said, even though she was really talking to Lily instead of me. I'll be monitoring both of you closely. If anything feels off, let me know immediately. I will, Lily replied. Lily walked out of the room, moving my body with ease. It was both fascinating and surreal to watch her navigate the world using my senses. She waved at the lab assistants, testing out the range of motion in my arms. It was as if I was watching a puppet show, with Lily pulling the strings. As we left the room, I tried to come to terms with the fact that I was now a passenger in my own body. Lily, on the other hand, seemed excited and energetic, reveling in the newfound freedom. We walked through the door to a viewing area that Lily knows about. Lily's joy radiated through my thoughts. Matt, this is so cool. Lily exclaimed in thought speech. I can't believe I get to experience the world like this. Thanks for letting me take the wheel. No problem, I replied. Just don't crash. Lily turned to the viewing window that let us see in the room that we were just in. One of the assistants was bringing in a modified chair that would allow Emily to get her wheelchair under the bowl helmet. Both Emily and Ashley walked into the room together. Both were quiet so we couldn't hear what they were saying. Emily got her wheelchair into position, and Courtney sat down in her seat. Just like with us, the two bowl-shaped helmets lowered around them. The lights flashed brightly for a second, and then after a minute, Courtney got up from the seat while Emily didn't move at all. This meant Emily was now in full control of Courtney's body, and Courtney was now just a passenger in her own mind. How do you cope with being in your own head like this? I asked Lily in thought speak. Lily didn't say anything at first, she just looked at Courtney in the other room. It sucks, she eventually said in her thought speak. I didn't want this to happen to me, I mean, who would, right? But Dad was persistent. At first it was an hour a week, just to make sure I was doing my homework, then when my grades started to fall so it was changed to Monday through Friday like how Courtney has hers, then when Dad saw that I wasn't doing my homework during the weekends, he decided on full time. He told me that he wants to see me succeed early in my life so that I have great opportunities in the future. He didn't even ask me, just one Sunday I sat down in the chair expecting my tutor in my head for the week, and then they stayed in me for the final 3 months of my 4th grade school year. That really sucks, I said. I couldn't imagine how that would feel for her. It did, she replied. But I have gotten used to it. Being a ghost in your own mind isn't so bad. And with the right tutor, it can be fun. As we continued our conversation through Thought Speak, Lily shared more about her experiences of being a ghost in her own mind, as she describes it. She described the initial struggles of adapting to this unique situation, the challenges of having someone else control her body, and the gradual acceptance that came with time. It's not easy, Lily admitted. But I've found ways to make the best of it. Having a good tutor, like you, helps. It's like having a companion in my own head. I'm glad I can be here for you, I replied sincerely. But it must be tough not having control over your own body. How do you manage? Lily chuckled in thought speak. You get creative. I've learned to find joy in the little things, like observing the world around me, making plans, and even enjoying the company of my tutors. It's a different kind of existence, but I've adapted. Courtney came through the door and found me. She smiled at us. She looked very happy as she announced that Professor Quinn also invited her out to dinner too. That's great, Lily said in my voice. So, how does it feel in there? Courtney asked, obviously talking to Lily and not me. I think you're the youngest who has ever been in control of their tutor's head. Second youngest, a boy corrected, scarring both Lily and me. Andrew walked into the room and looked at me/Lily up and down. When I was in 2nd grade, my tutor wanted to do the same thing that Matt here is doing. She allowed me to go in her head for the weekend, freaked out, and quit as soon as she regained control of her body. Actually, Lily, I wouldn't be surprised if you told me that Matt was right now in your head screaming and panicking. He's not, Lily said. Then in private thought speech she asked, are you panicking? I'm not, I said to her in thought speak. I'm getting used to it. He says he's getting used to it, Lily said out loud, translating my words so the group could know what I said. Well, just watch out, Andrew said. Lily and Courtney, you were forced to have a tutor in your head. Matt here has never been forced or manipulated to have a tutor in his head. There is a big difference. Andrew's words lingered in the air, adding a layer of complexity to the situation. As the group continued their discussion, I realized that this experience, which initially seemed like an intriguing opportunity, carried its own set of challenges and ethical considerations. Despite the uncertainty, Lily took the opportunity to enjoy the moment. She steered my body toward the exit, ready to embrace the experience of being in control for the evening. We walked through the building, and Lily marveled at the sensation of guiding my physical movements. The evening unfolded with dinner at a local restaurant. Professor Quinn, Andrew, Courtney, and Lily sat at a table, engaged in lively conversation. It was an odd dynamic, with Lily playing the role of me, using my voice, and participating in discussions as if she were truly in control. During the dinner, I observed Lily's interactions with others, both fascinated and somewhat unnerved by the fact that someone else was dictating my every action. It brought a new perspective on the concept of agency and identity. As the night progressed, we returned to shadow learning solutions. Lily followed Professor Quinn to the room with the 2 chairs. Courtney was right next to us talking as we walked. She and Lily were excitedly talking about school. We reached the room where 2 chairs were. We watched as Lily's lifeless body was wheeled out of storage and placed in a chair. I looked at her body knowing that soon I was going to be stuck in that body again, and Lily was going to be a passenger yet again. Lily sat down in the chair, the bowl helmets came down onto us and I could feel Lily slowly breathing to keep calm. "Thank you," she whispered in thought speak. "You're welcome," I said right before the flash. I woke up and flexed my fingers, each one of them worked perfectly. Lily wasn't in my head anymore. I opened my eyes and looked around. Lily was already up from her chair, she was back in her body. I started to get up to trade her seats, but then I instantly fell. "Careful," Lily warned as she rushed over to me. "You are always weak after you retake control of your body, even if it's just been a few hours." Lily, with the help of Courtney, helped me up onto my feet. I took 3 wobbly steps before being able to walk normally again. "So, I guess it's time to do this again?" I asked. Lily looked up at me and then hugged me around my waist. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for letting me be in control of you for once." I knelt and hugged Lily back. "You're welcome," I said. "Now let's go, we don't have much time before curfew at the school." Lily took a deep breath before nodding. She looked at the chairs and I could tell that she was wishing that she didn't have to go back to being a ghost in her own mind. "Hey," I whispered to her to get her attention. "This weekend, I must go see my parents. Professor Quinn and your dad have already agreed to let you pilot my body the whole weekend. Would you like that?" I asked. Lily's face lit up as she thought about it. "You're the best tutor I have ever had," she said, hugging me again. I led Lily to her chair, and I sat in mine, the bowl-shaped helmet lowered down, and before I could prepare myself, there was a sudden flash, and everything went dark.
Now fully inside of Lily's head, we were hurriedly escorted to Professor Quinn's car and taken back to St. Mary's School for Girls. With the help of Zoe, Courtney and I were able to get back to our dorm rooms without being noticed. We were a little past our curfew, but that didn't matter too much. I guess it pays to have a resident advisor who is in the same boat as you. Once I got into our dorm room, I hurriedly got dressed in one of Lily's nightgowns and I hurried up to my bed. The whole way back to the school, Courtney seemed to be distant to me. I wondered if it was because I now knew Emily's secret, that she was stuck in a wheelchair whenever she wasn't in Courtney's body. I laid in the bed looking up at the dark ceiling tiles when I heard Courtney call Lily's name. "Yeah," I whispered. I looked over at Courtney's dark form and watched her rise from her bed. She then reaches over to her bedside lamp and clicked it on, illuminating the whole room. "Look," she said with a sigh. "Courtney won't leave me alone until I talk to you, so I want to break the rules a little and talk to you, Matt." "Okay," I said, shrugging. "What's up, Emily?" Emily sighed, and for a moment I wondered if she was going to say anything. Obviously, she was talking to Courtney in her mind, probably to get a quick pep talk. "Look," she began. "I'm sorry for the awkwardness when you saw the real me for the first time," she said quickly. "There was no awkwardness," I said reassuringly. "I didn't mean to hide that from you," Emily continued. It's not easy being in the wheelchair. I like the break that I get from it." "I understand," I said. "It must be tough." "Yeah, it is. And it's not just the wheelchair, it's everything. Being dependent on others for the simplest things, feeling trapped. That's why I appreciate the time I spend in Courtney's body. It's my escape, my chance to experience the world in a way I can't on my own." "I get it," I replied. "And you have nothing to be afraid of, you're more than welcome to share anything with me." Emily paused for a moment, I could see tears start to form in her eyes. "When I was in high school, I thought I was invincible. I was one of the most popular girls in the school, dating the quarterback from our high school team, and I was a flyer for our cheer squad. I thought I was on top of the world." "And then what?" I asked. "I was at cheer practice, and we were practicing a stunt where I would be thrown up in the air. I guess I twisted wrong, and I ended up not where I was supposed to be. I don't remember the impact, I just remember waking up in the hospital a few weeks later and being told that I was permanently paralyzed from the shoulders down." Emily took a deep breath, her eyes distant as she recounted the painful memory. I felt a pang of empathy for her, realizing the weight of the burden she carried. "I'm so sorry, Emily," I whispered, not knowing exactly what to say but wanting to offer some form of comfort. She nodded, wiping away a tear. "It changed everything. My friends, my social life, my dreams, all gone in an instant. But you know what the worst part was? The looks on people's faces when they saw me in that wheelchair. Pity, sympathy, fear. It was suffocating." I listened intently, realizing the strength it took for her to share such a personal story. I sat quietly, my gaze fixed on Emily, the distance between us fading away. "It took me a long time to accept myself," Emily continued. "But when I found out about the ability to tutor other people inside of their heads, it was like a lifeline. I could experience life again, even if it was through someone else's eyes. And, for a while, I forgot about the wheelchair, about being confined." I nodded, understanding the complex emotions she must have been grappling with. But Emily hesitated. "I didn't want you to see that part of me. I wanted to be normal, even if it was just for a little while." "There's nothing abnormal about you," I said sincerely. "You're still the same incredible person, wheelchair or not. And I appreciate you trusting me enough to share this with me." Emily managed a small smile, the weight on her shoulders seeming to lighten. "Thanks, Matt. I just wanted you to know the truth, even if it's not easy to talk about." "Thank you for trusting me with your story, Emily," I replied. "You're not alone in this, and I'm here to support you however I can." With that, Emily seemed to find some comfort, and the atmosphere in the room lightened. I walked over to Emily and sat down on her bed. I wrapped my hands around her and gave her a hug. She turned and returned the hug to me. I could feel Lily inside of my head start to cry a little, her emotions were all over the place. Emily pulled away from me. She looked over at the clock on the other side of the room. It said that it was almost midnight. "I think it's time we go to sleep, Lily," Emily said, now back in her Courtney role. I nodded and headed to my bed. Courtney waited for me to get into my bed and then turned off her bedside lamp. The room went dark, and I could see her form lower into her bed. "Good night, Courtney," I whispered. "Good night, Lily," Courtney said back. "Sweet dreams."